In the past 4 or so weeks, we have been discussing at length distributed controls. To wrap up the series, today we're going to talk about distributed power across the plant room. So if you're just coming into the series now, I'd suggest you stop this video and go back a month. I'll link in the description below the previous videos. Go watch them first, otherwise this probably won't make any sense. Let's get straight into it. When we distributed our controllers out of the mechanical board or from next to it and removed the hand-off auto switches and removed the run and fault lamps, and we removed and sort of sorted out the fire interlocks out of the board and got them sorted out as well, what we were pretty much left with was this big 5-meter board. Then when you just open those doors, there was just circuit breakers in there, 3-phase circuit breakers. Now at this point, we can remove that custom-built mechanical board and replace it with standard off-the-shelf electrical distribution boards. Now the first advantage with this is that, slightly exaggerating the concept, but you can just walk in there with a distribution board, screw onto the wall with a bunch of circuit breakers, 3-phase circuit breakers for variable speed drives, pumps. The chillers might be powered from somewhere else maybe, but you could sort of just straight away put the board on the wall, start clipping some circuit breakers on and running cables out. I did a little test once a very long time ago. It doesn't apply to all situations, but I sort of estimated that it takes about 3 months from when you start working on the design of a mechanical board to it being delivered on site. It's a 3-month process. Now, of course, this is done up front, so it's not really creating a problem in the bottling, but it's a lot of work. So if we can change our power delivery system, then with just standard off-the-shelf distribution board circuit breakers, that's going to be a lot quicker and easier for us to work through plant rooms. It isn't quite as simple as that, because I think that when you go over a certain size circuit breaker, like let's just say 60 amps, I can't remember actually, it goes to something else which I think was called a multi-case circuit breaker. Again, don't know if it's called that in all countries. So in very big plant rooms, you might have, in fact, what you would actually do is you could have a circuit breaker like four small distribution boards in the plant room, and there's one big power board that's dealing with chillers and things, massive pieces of equipment. So we've removed the mech board, we've distributed everything we can, and we have these standard electrical distribution boards with circuit breakers, either one of them or a few of them around the plant room. Let's go to the next step of this, which is what I'm sort of building up towards. On your air handling unit, there's your box, 800 by 800, BMS controller, a whole bunch of relays in there for hardwired interlocking. If you put next to it a small little distribution board, like almost one of these domestic ones, and all that's in there is a 3-phase circuit breaker to the supply VSD, 3-phase circuit breaker to the return VSD, single-phase circuit breaker for BMS power, single-phase circuit breaker to air handling unit lighting, or if you have a few humidifiers or anything else specialist on the AHU. What happens now is AHU gets plonked onto site 3 months early. There's the BMS guy putting his board up, pre-wiring. There's mechanical doing some small bits and pieces to help the process. You got your trolley ready with your desktop UPS on, or an extension lead to a transformer circuit breaker box to a temporary power board. Maybe you got your thing that you call your temporary server. I remember when we first did this a very long time ago, we had a server in a box, and then we took some temporary filter media, made some holes, stuck it on there, created this little thing so that we didn't drag too much dust into our temporary server. On the trolley, you got a network controller on there for this plant room. You're all set up, laptop. It's just a little thing you sort of move around everywhere you go. So you got that ready, and you take this mini distribution board, screw it on next to the air handling unit, and you pre-wire the power. Now, I would guess, and this would also depend on different countries' electrical regulations, that maybe you don't even need the isolator. Don't take my word for it. You put one there or go work it out. But if the VSD is there and the distribution board's right there, and keep in mind, you can get these little locks that can actually lock a circuit breaker off. So I don't know, maybe even, there's the VSD, arm's length away, there's the distribution board. You can isolate to the circuit breakers, and you can do a lockout, tag out from that point. Another thing to consider, I actually used to have isolators, but I'm just saying, keep moving the thought process forward. So what happens now is we've temporarily wired the controls, and we've wired we've wired our controls, and we've wired our power supplies on this air handling unit. All we need now is one feed into this air handling unit. And a lot of this thought process started was in around 2009, I tried to off-site manufacture AHU controls. It didn't actually work. But we had BMS installers up in the north of England, staying in hotels, pre-wiring air handling units. We wanted the VSDs on, we wanted the control panel on, power, everything. It turned out that it doesn't work because AHU manufacturing lines, they're very tight time scales. When that AHU, the pieces roll down the line at the end, it's got to move. Can't sit there for the BMS guy to work on it. And also, as a lot of you are probably thinking now, with air handling units, they come in sections. So we had a real challenge. How do you get the wires through sections? So we were looking at different types of plug arrangements to plug them together. It turned out too hard because I realized that it doesn't matter. The AHU gets there 3 months early. Just deal with it when it gets there. Don't worry about it at the factories. Because at that time, we actually were building entire chill water plant rooms off-site on 4 massive skids with pump sets and variable speed drives and control panels and all sorts of stuff like that. That's something else. Okay, so what I was thinking there was, I'm not proposing that you're going to temporarily power up the distribution board and run these fans. Like, that's looking for trouble in construction land. But what you could do is, you could just power up the VSD. Now, I never did this before, so this is a theory. But you could get your distribution board, put a temporary feed onto your distribution board from the temporary power boards, and you could turn the VSD on. Don't run the thing, just power it up, address the VSD, check your comms. You could set up the VSD min-max frequencies and the kilowatts and current, all those internal settings. Maybe do just a rotation check. Just push start. Yep, the motor turned the right way or the wrong way, fix it up, turn it off, lock the circuit breaker out with your little lock, and move on, commission all your controls, move forward. So that's just a small step so that when the plant room gets power 3 months later, your controller powers up, it's addressed online at the network controller, which the same one you had there on your trolley, it's down there now, it comes up, there it is. The VSDs come online, the VSDs are pre-commissioned, pre-set up, they turn the right way, so that sort of transitions air and water balancing to start a bit quicker because they have to go do all those sort of tests. Now, to close out, I guess, this series, I don't for a second think that you BMS guys are going to be able to win a job and say, hey, like, team, let's do this. There's no way it's going to happen. You're way too far down the food chain. But you can start having these discussions with consultants and mechanical contractors before you win jobs. So go and partner up with a mechanical contractor, like a tier 1 contractor. Listen, guys, what do you think about this? Have a few workshops in their offices, order some sandwiches in at lunchtime, work through this thing. And then when the right job comes up, you're sort of all slightly geared up, especially in Australia where we have this design and construct model. When the consultant is novated the builder and loses all of the authority that they normally have, there is flexibility in your solution. As long as mechanical is organized and you're organized, you could come with an alternative solution. It would probably get some legs. So have a go at it. Now, we have covered a lot of information in the last 4 or 5 weeks. Like, it's a lot, right? And like I said last week, this is not something that you're just going to do in 5 minutes. Find the right type of building. Just do one plant room. Start with one thing. And in 2 or 3 years' time, maybe you're getting better at it. And maybe in 5 years' time, the industry has started to evolve, because this story, it's not a dream that I made up one Sunday morning having coffee thinking about a YouTube series. I did this in the UK. I did a big hospital with, I think we had 52 air handling units. I built one panel for 52 air units, the exact same one, a fully loaded AHU. So if it had duty standby fans for theaters, or had single fans, or had humidifiers, no humidifiers, the whole thing was built like that. I just built 52 of them. There you go. There's an AHU to plant room. Go grab a panel from the store. Just grab one, chuck it on there. Doesn't matter which one it is. So it takes time to work these things out. But guys, we have to, we can't just sit there and complain on LinkedIn about all the shit that goes down here. We have to do something about it. it's not going to change for us. Building owners and consultants, they're not going to change this industry for us. We have a big issue with compressed commissioning. We are not commissioning our BMS systems. For the last 12 months, every single job I've witnessed, and I do witnessing almost every week, we're doing BMS witnessing at the exact same time as air and water balancing, or at the same time while air and water balancing has been witnessed. There's just no time. So let's do something about it. Like, we, as the BMS companies, we have to change to adapt to how the industry is changing. We're not gonna all of a sudden get some free time. Someone up there called the client's not gonna say, hey, enough of this rubbish. We need to do things properly. We need to have BMS commissioning time. That's not gonna happen, because the thing is that if the builder says to the owner, hey, if you give me the job, I will finish 3 months early, and you can get tenants into your building 3 months early and start earning rent, they don't care about your BMS commissioning. That's important stuff. Nuts and bolts, cables, power supplies, PID loops. No one cares or understands. Get out there, make a difference, and do not, as I was saying to the students on the course last week, like, do not get bogged down in the day-to-day dramas of putting out fires, which we all do that. Like, we have good intentions, Buddhist, burnt out and drowning. Like, that's not good enough. Block some time into your calendar, turn your phone off and make it happen. Start thinking about solutions to problems we have. I'll leave you with that. See you next week, and hopefully we'll have a new topic. I'll think of something. See you later. I actually nearly had a little tear come out there. Like, I'm serious. Get out there.